Hey everyone, Pool Shark here. Today I'm going to kind of give an overview slash review on what I thought of the Battlefield 1 campaign. This will be completely spoiler free, as I know a lot of you want to play it, as did I, and so I didn't want any spoilers. So now I will give a review on what I thought, the positives, the negatives, and what I would like to see in the future for Battlefield in campaign stories. The video above is from the story mission called Storm of Steel. I may have lied a little bit since this is the first story mission and it was on the reveal. This will be playing above, so if you haven't seen it, I apologize. It's not necessarily a complete story. It is more just an intro to the actual story, kind of showing the brutality of World War I and the humanity of it. I feel this is a great intro to a story on World War I, as this kind of hasn't really been focused too much on AAA video games, and this really shows the brutality of the war. So as you've seen, the Storm of Steel is the intro. The first mission, if you were to play these in order that they have them set, is through Mud and Blood, where it goes over a British tank crew. Then you have Friends in High Places, which is a British Royal Flying Corps story. The next is called Avante Savoia, and it follows the Italian Special Forces called the Arditi. The next story is called The Runner, and it follows the battle at Gallipoli. And the final one is Nothing is Written, which is the story that follows Lawrence of Arabia. I'm going to kind of hit on what I feel DICE did right with this campaign. Each story does their job very well. They hit on the humanity and the emotional side of what happened during the war. And while they may not necessarily be completely true stories, they follow a line of what happened and what could have happened during the war. I find that allowing the characters to have a voice gives them more of an emotion and gives you as a player more of a connection to them. That is one area in which I found the last two Battlefield campaigns to be lacking. The main character in which you played had no voice, therefore you didn't really feel a connection to him, which kind of took you away from the story. This game, however, does the connection very well. For those of you who played the EA Access trial, you saw this story as well as the Through Mud and Blood story, so you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about when I say you connect with the player. Being able to go across the world in all these different battlegrounds, you have a massive difference in variety and locales, and that is also another good thing. It gives you don't have that feeling of doing the same thing over again. Having short stories like this would leave one to think that you may not necessarily be able to connect with the character as much as you would like. And I have to agree, I was part of that. I thought the same thing. However, after playing through this, there was not one character that I did not feel that there was a connection, that you could understand what they were going through during this time. In an average first-person shooter campaign, it's what, 5-6 hours, and you have that entire time to connect with a character. The fact that this story can actually connect in just a short amount of time in an individual story, I think just pushes forth the idea that the emotion behind the war and the war itself kind of gives you many stories to tell. And these stories allow you to connect easier because of the fact that they were on a human level, they were brutal, and this type of stuff did happen, and it's not necessarily a fake story. In my eyes, the purpose of a campaign is to kind of get you acclimated to how the game plays. It gives you almost a tutorial on vehicles and weapons and such. And this game does that, and I feel that kind of gives you a little bit of practice before you hop into multiplayer, which I feel Battlefield has kind of always been known for, as opposed to the single-player campaign. So on top of having the emotional story campaign in which you're fighting through as all these individuals doing different things and for different end goals, you have the training in which allows you to get up to speed on how the game plays. Technically, I had 0 bugs playing through the campaign, not a single issue. Everything ran smooth, had no bugs, no crashes. Everything ran buttery smooth for me, which is fantastic. So I have absolutely nothing to complain about on that side of things. So now that we got everything I liked out of the way, let's get into the things that I would like to see done differently. Obviously, depending on skill, you're going to run through these story missions at a different rate, and depending on the difficulty level, well, that'll change as well. In a few of the stories, there was a lot of information being thrown at you at once, and this kind of takes away from the whole story itself. In the Avante Savoia mission, specifically, there were parts in that in which there could have been a huge expanse and just gone into hours and hours of story time. And while I understand the point is just focusing on one story, that it leaves you wanting more from that character and wanting to know background and connections that he had and other things that you could have fully fleshed out in a longer story campaign that is focused on one individual. But I do understand that they wanted to go with the multiple story route, and they did that well. It's just that there could have been a lot more added to it, but I understand money, time, all that stuff plays a factor. And as you play through the campaign, you will probably see what I'm talking about. There will be plenty of opportunities that you'll be like, I want to see more of this. I want to know more about this. Why can't we know what happened in his past? What happened now? What's going on? All of that lends to the fact that the campaign could have been longer. However, I know feasibly it won't be longer. But in the future, I think having a story that kind of does this similar thing where it has individual stories and goes through the individual's life, but connect them. I know it was difficult in this one because the fronts of the war were in so many different locations that tying together a story and characters into one general arc would be near impossible. Another issue I had with the campaign was during some of the stories there was a very similar, I don't know, I'd say quote unquote stealth type action in which you had to accomplish in order to do whatever your objective was. However, it was masked pretty well by giving different objectives and kind of going at it in a different route. However, I still noticed it, and it was go here, be sneaky about doing it, and get this thing. I don't necessarily like that. I feel it kind of takes away from the story. I know you can go in and just go guns a-blazing, but that also feels similar because you just awaken the hive and they all come at you from all angles. While the story itself does a pretty good job of masking that specific thing, while the game does a pretty good job of masking it with how the objectives are laid out and what you're supposed to be doing, I would have liked to see a little bit more variety from that, as maybe a horde mode type thing with waves of enemies coming through, defending places, attacking places. And while there's some of that in the game, I would like to see some more variety in the whole stealth thing. The voice acting is one thing that I want to kind of hit on. It's one of the best voice acting in a video game that I've seen in a long time. All the characters have emotion, and it seems like they put a lot of effort and focus into their dialogue. A lot of people may not focus too much on voice acting, but a good voice actor can it could just take the game to the next level. You can see this in games like Destiny, where Peter Dinklage was the ghost, and people went crazy over it because it seemed like he had no care in what he was doing. And that really detracts from the game. The voice actors in this game really did well. They really seemed like they were enjoying themselves. They put a lot of effort into it, and that really adds to the depth of the story. And I understand reviews are completely subjective, and this will probably by no means cover everybody and what everybody thinks about it. However, I think the points I make are kind of less nitpicky and more overall scale of things, in which I think a lot of people will agree with. And that doesn't take away from the fact that DICE did a fantastic job with this game. The campaign is phenomenal. And these are just the things that I would like to see that could possibly take the game to the next level. And by the game, I mean future iterations, because I doubt they'd want to go back and redo this entire game just because of a few gripes from me. So, take it as you will. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'm going to let this continue playing in case you haven't seen the full version of this. And there's only a couple minutes left, so enjoy, and I hope to see you back soon for my future videos, which there will be more coming soon. Take it easy.
once in a while, we push hard enough